Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you guys how to make this beautiful and elegant Paris-inspired cake with an edible Eiffel Tower topper. To get started, I'm going to bake 2 almond cakes in 2 10-inch round cake pans and 2 pistachio cakes in 2 6-inch round cake pans. To add a little more height to the cake, I baked an extra layer, and this one is a strawberry cake, and I baked this in a 10-inch cake pan as well. Once my cakes have been completely cooled, I am going to remove them from the cake pan and begin to level off the top so that we have a nice, straight, even top for each cake. Then I'm going to drizzle each one of my cakes with some simple syrup to help keep them moist. To start assembling my cakes, I have a 12-inch cake pan, and I'm going to spread a little bit of buttercream on it, and I'm going to add my first cake layer on it, which is the strawberry cake layer, and I'm going to fill this with buttercream. I'm going to add a 10-inch cake board on top of this so that it fits exactly aligned with the cake, and then I'm going to add one of my almond cakes on top of the cake board, fill that one with buttercream, and add the second and final almond cake on top. I grab a piping bag full of my almond buttercream, and I go ahead and fill the gaps in between the cake layers, and then I grab my offset spatula and begin to spread this around the cake, and that's how I begin the crumb coat process. Once this cake has been chilled, I'm going to go ahead and add the dowels onto there, and we need the dowels for support so that the cake that we're adding on top of this cake does not sink this cake down. Then I'm going to get started with my top cake layer, which is the 6-inch cake. This is the pistachio cake, and these layers came out fairly thick, so I'm going to slice these in half, and I'm going to be left with 4 cake layers. Here I have a 6-inch cake board, and I'm going to begin the assembly by adding a little bit of buttercream just so that the first layer sticks onto the cake board. I'm going to add the cake, fill it with some more of the buttercream, add a second cake layer, fill it with some more of the buttercream, add the third cake layer, and fill it with some more of the buttercream, and then finally add the last layer on top. Once I finish the crumb coat, I pop this in the fridge to set, and then I begin to give both of my cakes a second coat of buttercream. Now it's time to cover the cakes in fondant, so I'm going to roll out some white fondant and cover both of my cakes in white fondant. I trim away the excess fondant on the bottom using a pizza cutter. To decorate the bottom cake layer, which is the 10-inch cake, here I have this beautiful damask printed pattern, which is printed on some edible wafer paper. So this is completely edible. I'm going to measure how high the cake is. It's 4 inches high. So I've cut out a strip of paper that's 4 inches high. And what I'm going to do is wet the fondant slightly. You don't want to wet it too much because otherwise the wafer paper will dissolve. And then I'm just going to add this wafer paper onto there, like sticking wallpaper onto a wall. Now I'm going to use some silver edible color mist spray, and I'm going to spray the top of the cake silver. While I let that dry, I'm going to get started on my top layer, which is the 6-inch cake, and I want to create a diamond quilted pattern on it. I'm using a thick wooden skewer, and I'm just pressing these lines in. I made sure that I added a thick layer of fondant so that when I'm pressing this into the fondant, it didn't tear or break. So I'm making some slanted lines to one direction, and then I'm going to come back and make the slanted lines to the opposite direction, and that's going to give us a diamond quilted pattern. Now I'm going to add my top layer onto my bottom layer. So what I'm going to do is add a wooden dowel through the center of the bottom cake, and then I made sure that the cake board on the bottom of my top cake has a hole in it so that we can add the cake on it and the dowel goes right through the center of the cake, and it keeps both cakes together. Out of fondant, I have created a long strip. It is long enough to cover the perimeter of my top 6-inch cake, and it is about 1.5 inches wide. And I've spray painted that with the color Mist spray in silver, and now I'm creating some small little dage looking balls, and these I am also going to spray paint silver, and I'm going to add these in the center of each of the diamond weave patterns. Then I'm going to add the silver band that I made as the bottom border for the top cake. Now I'm going to show you guys how to make the decorations for this cake. I made an Eiffel Tower, a bow, and some gum paste roses. These are all made out of gum paste, and I let these set for at least 3 days before making the cake. So if you're making these, make these a couple days in advance so that they have enough time to set. So what I'm making now is the Eiffel Tower. So I have some white gum paste, and I have 2 Eiffel Tower images that I've printed on edible wafer paper. And I'm going to add one to one side, then I'm going to trim off the shape of the Eiffel Tower and add the other one to the other side. And again, I let this set for 3 days. And now I'm going to make the gum paste bow. Here I have some gray colored fondant. I tried to color it silver, but it turned out gray. But it's okay, I'm going to spray it with the silver color Mist spray as well. So I'm just kneading out the gum paste, and then I'm going to create a nice long strip. I'm going to pinch the edges, and then I'm going to bring both edges to the center and pinch the center to make it look like a bow. Then I'm going to roll out a really thin strip and add that to the center of the bow as the little knot in the center. Now to create the gum paste roses, I have some light pink gum paste, and I'm going to knead that. Then I'm going to create a little cone shape. This is going to be the Rosebud, and I made these in different sizes since I want different size roses. And then I'm going to roll out some more of the gum paste and just cut out random shapes. Make sure that they have a curved side to them and a flat side on the bottom. And these are going to be the petals, and I start arranging them by adding petals close to the bud and then adding bigger petals outside, layering to the outside of the bud. Now back to the cake. I top off the cake with the Eiffel Tower. I added 2 wooden skewers to the bottom of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm going to add this in the center top of the cake. Then I go ahead and arrange the roses on the cake. I'm using a little bit of royal icing to help these stick onto the cake. You can also use a little bit of water. And I'm just arranging these throughout the cake on the top around the Eiffel Tower and on the very bottom border of the cake. Using a leaf press, I rolled out some green gum paste, and I have 2 different sizes here, and I'm going to go ahead and press on the gum paste to make the leaf impression. And I add the leaves throughout the cake. Now to finish off the cake, I'm going to add that beautiful bow that I made. Remember I told you guys I was going to spray paint it silver with the silver color Mist spray? Well, I did, and it matches perfectly with the rest of the silver details on the cake. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the side of the cake, and it just looks so beautiful. And the cake is complete. Thank you guys so much for watching my tutorial on how to make this beautiful, elegant, Paris-inspired cake. We have that beautiful damask pattern on the bottom layer, the silver details throughout the cake, that wonderful silver gum paste bow on the side. It just makes it look so elegant. The gum paste flowers, of course, throughout the cake, and last but not least, the Eiffel Tower topper, which finishes it off beautifully. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye bye.